Thought the jury was ready, but...
All rise for the jury.
All right, please be seated. All right, we're back in the presence of the jury. We are ready to continue. I anticipate we will break again somewhere close to 4:30. We'll break for the day then. Mr. Nelson.
Mr. Carlson, I want to ask you about, I was going to get into what you've done in response to what you saw, but I want to go back just a little bit.
Okay.
Your testimony today is you saw Madison Cohn get punched, and just putting us all in that same space.
Yes.
Describe this punch.
It came from his left side. I would say it was a pretty fast, swift motion like that.
Okay, so are you right now going on a memory that you have in your head of what you remember seeing?
Yes.
And what you've just shown us is you used your left arm to move forward in what I would describe a jabbing motion. Would that be fair?
I used my right arm.
You used your right arm. Okay. Did you see Nicolae Miu use his right hand?
Yes.
And so your testimony to the jury is Nicolae Miu punched Madison Cohn with his right hand.
Yes.
And you, just want, trying to use words, the best thing is that I've heard it described as a hook. I saw you do something different. Can you just show us again what it is you saw?
It was like, it started from his side and it went out like that.
Okay. Kind of straightforward. So his hands in front of him, down at his side.
Down at his side, and then it, like, I guess you could say it was like a hook, but it wasn't. It was
Okay.
like a jab.
It came down and it went up. Agreed?
Agreed.
And it came from his body position outwards towards the other person, correct?
Correct.
And it seems like as my arm's kind of in my body plane, you see that?
Yes.
It stays essentially within the body plane is what you're saying.
No, it was kind of off to the right.
It went like this.
Kind of. It was, as it went up, it curved to the right.
Okay. So again, trying to use words.
I don't know the correct words to use to describe it.
We'll sort through it. It seems like you're saying basically not a full hook, not a full jab, something in between.
Yes.
Okay, but it's clearly with his right hand, correct?
Yes.
You aware that prior to that, would you say happened at about 150 in the video? Is that about right? Do you remember watching the video and it's around the 150 mark?
Sure.
Sound about right?
Yeah.
And do you know that in the video you can observe Mr. Miu standing in front of Rhyley and Mattison with the knife in his right hand?
Yes.
So it's with the hand that's holding the knife that he punches her.
Yes.
And where does this punch that you say he hits her with the hand with the knife, where does that land on her?
The left side of her face.
Okay, on the left side of her face.
Yes.
Okay. And okay. Looked to be a forceful punch?
Yes.
More than just like a little tap?
Yes.
Like a full-grown man punching a woman square in the face, correct?
Yes.
And it must have punched her, I think you indicated up like on her eye level, is that right?
I would say so. Yes.
Like, and so it would have been near her left eye.
On her cheekbone is, I guess, would probably be the best place to put it. around this area.
Okay. Around, and when you just said around this area, it was your hand, I think, went a
I'm
little...
sorry, like the cheekbone area.
Just under where your glasses protect your face, correct?
Correct.
You have on a pair of, would you agree, rather small eyeglasses, correct?
Yes.
And on that day, Madison Cohen had some oversized sunglasses on, correct?
Yes.
And so the area that you're pointing to on her face would have been covered by those oversized sunglasses, correct?
I wouldn't say covered, but sure.
Sure. So this grown man holding a knife as a hand reaches out and punches her in the eye where her sunglasses are, correct?
Her cheekbone, but yeah.
Okay. Right near her sunglasses, correct?
Yes.
You're aware that her sunglasses are in perfect condition?
Objection, assuming facts not in evidence.
Sustained.
I'm asking if he's aware of that.
Well,
I think that's how
no,
you
established.
Okay.
Sustained.
Do you know the condition of her eyeglasses?
No.
Would you expect a woman standing in front of a man with oversized eyeglasses that got punched in the manner that you did, would you expect her glasses to be bent, broken, disturbed in some manner?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
When you're standing there and you see this, you must have been ready to respond right away.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you said you hit him immediately, correct?
Yes.
So there wasn't any time for you to type of assess anything, you just hit him right away, correct?
After I saw him punch her, yes.
So you saw it and had to have your body like process what happened, and then you moved into action, correct?
Yes.
So it wasn't as if you saw it happening and at the same time you started swinging, correct?
Can you?
You weren't violent until you saw this, correct?
Correct.
And when you saw this violence, it must have surprised you.
Yes.
It must have shocked you.
Yes.
It must have taken you a moment to assess what are you going to do, correct?
No.
You just, after that, after you made that observation, you then moved your body, correct?
Yes.
Would you agree that your moving that body from making that observation would have taken you a second or two?
Sure.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. You agree that when you saw this, well, let me say this. So why, you punched him, you said, in defense of her. Is that what you said?
Yes.
What were you feeling at that time?
Anger, I guess.
Okay. And the anger was at Nicolae Miu, correct?
Yes.
You've, fair to say, never described to anybody, even today, that your feeling was of fear, correct?
I would say, yeah.
You agree, you've never described your feelings on that day as to why you punched him was you punched him out of fear.
Correct.
Because you weren't fearful, you were angry.
Yes, he hit my friend.
Sure. And so you hit him in response to hitting her because you were angry, correct?
Yes.
It wasn't because you believed her safety was in danger, right? You agree?
I don't know. I reacted in case it was.
Sure. And you reacted by hitting him, not tending to your friend, correct?
Yes.
After you hit him once, he fell in the water, correct?
Yes.
And as he fell in the water, you moved to get over him, correct?
Yes.
You moved to position yourself in a way that you could strike him a second time, correct?
Yes.
And you moved to position yourself to set yourself up for that second strike to be with your right hand, correct?
Yes.
That was your dominant hand, correct?
Yes.
You wanted to make sure the force that you hit upon him was the most dominant force you could use, and that would be with your right hand.
I wouldn't say I did it purposely. I just think my body naturally went to the right side.
Okay. To set yourself up to hit him a second time, correct?
Yes.
Clearly, when he's down in the water on his back, Maddie's safe, right?
Yes.
She's not in any danger, agreed? You agree?
For now, yeah.
In that moment, she's not in any danger, agreed?
Agreed.
And you're not in any danger, agreed? He's down on the ground, correct?
Yes.
You're not in any danger. You agree?
I would say, yeah, sure.
Okay.
I mean-
And you would agree that you and Maddie and the 11 other people there are not in danger when Nicolae Miu is down on the ground in the water after you hit him. Agreed?
I wouldn't say agree to that.
Okay.
He was still a danger.
Okay. He was a danger while he was on his back in the water, surrounded by you and your friends.
Yes.
And because you believe, that's what you believed at that time?
Yes.
And you believe that because of the one time you saw him hit your friend, correct?
Yes.
So you observed one act and you thought he's still a danger even if he's down and in the water, correct?
Yes.
You were fearful at that time? Or were you still angry?
I believe it was a little bit of both.
Okay, so when you punched him the first time, it wasn't out of fear. You weren't afraid until he was down in the water.
Yes.
But when he's down in the water, you're fearful and angry, and then you hit him, correct?
Yes.
And you do that with your right hand so that you can make sure you hit him with enough force, correct?
I wasn't making sure to hit him with enough force, but
Okay.
my body just naturally positioned itself to the right side.
Okay. And after you hit him the second time, you saw your friend Anthony Martin come up behind Mr. Miu, right?
No.
You didn't see that?
No.
You were aware that that happened?
Yes.
Now that you watched the tape, you understand that Anthony Martin was coming up behind him, correct?
Yes. I was also being pushed away at the same time, though.
Who was being pushed away?
I was.
Okay. You were being pushed away at the same time, let me just make sure. While Anthony Martin is pushing Nicolae Miu down from back,
Yes.
you're being pushed away by somebody else.
I believe I was, yes.
And that somebody else was your brother.
No, I think that was a couple seconds later, but yes.
Who pushed you away?
I don't know. They pushed me from behind.
Okay, well, let me show you let me just. Can I have the screen? I'm showing you slide 2699. Do you see that?
Yes.
Do you see, is that Nicolae Miu in the water?
Yes.
Do you see a shadow of an arm across Nicolae Miu's chest?
Yes.
Is that the shadow of your arm?
I would believe so, yes.
And then I'm going to move forward here, and that's us, those slides up to 2707, that's your right hand hitting him across his chin, side of his face, ear, head. Agreed?
Agreed.
And then in response to that, Nick Miu head goes back to touch the water again, correct?
Yes.
And then as we watch here on the video, Anthony Martin is coming up behind, is that right?
Yes.
And we see 2 feet in front of Nicolae Miu, is that correct?
Yes.
Those are your feet, correct?
Yes.
You're standing in front of him, correct?
Yes.
And you're, at this time, preparing to hit him for a third time, correct?
I believe so.
And that 2745, that's your hand or your elbow forearm that we see in the upper left portion of that frame, correct?
Yes.
And then here, this is your right shin, your right leg, is that correct?
That looks like the top of his head, but I would say it's...
Let me go back a couple, maybe it's,
Oh, yes. Sorry.
does that appear to be your,
Yeah.
agreed, nobody standing behind you here, that we were aware of at least?
Yes.
And then you swing through and we see through the middle there, your hand at 2747 hitting Nick Miu again in the front of his head somewhere, correct?
Yes.
And while you're hitting him in the front, A.J. Martin is pushing him down from behind, correct?
Yes.
That's the third time that you've hit him, correct?
Yes.
You're hitting him out of anger, agreed?
Yes.
You're not hitting him in defense of anybody there, right?
False, I was.
You believed that at that point, you feared for your safety?
No, I feared for everyone else's safety. No, I didn't fear, okay, you're getting me confused.
All right, well, let's take a step back. Let's all ask it again, okay? Tell me in this photo, when you're hitting him the third time, whose safety do you fear for?
My friends.
Okay, which friends in particular?
Madison, AJ, Tony, Rhyley, Janelle, Scotty, my father, Sheena.
Okay, so let's go through that list. Do you know where Madison is there?
No,
Do you know where Rhyley is there?
no.
Do you know where your brother Tony is there?
I believed he was walking up right behind AJ.
Okay. You know where AJ is, correct?
Yes,
AJ's behind Nicolae Miu, pushing him down from behind, agreed?
agreed.
But in that situation, you were worried for AJ's safety?
Yes,
And as a result of your fear for AJ's safety, that's why you hit Nick Miu a third time, correct?
yes,
And you thought that amount of force was necessary.
yes.
Do you think that's reasonable?
I did.
You did in that time.
Yes,
And you did in that time because of the escalated nature of everything that was going on there. Everybody was just fearful around there, correct?
yes,
Now, let me ask you about that, because you say you're in fear, but when you hit him the first time, you had a beer in your left hand, right?
yes,
And when you hit him the second time, you still had the beer in your left hand, right?
yes,
And when you hit him the third time, you still had a beer in your hand, correct?
yes,
Have you heard the expression, hold my beer?
yes,
Is that basically like, I'm going to go do something, you should hold this, I'm going to need two hands, correct?
yes.
In this situation, you didn't even ask somebody to hold your beer, right?
I didn't have time to.
You were confident enough that you could do this while holding your beer.
No, I wasn't confident in it at all.
Okay. So why did you keep the beer in your hand?
I was just holding it.
Okay.
That's,
I want to ask you some questions about your confidence level as the time passed, right?
okay.
Before he, as you say, made a swift motion towards a person which you now say is Madison, were you afraid?
I wouldn't say it was fear, more as confusion.
Okay. So up until that moment, you had no fear, correct?
Correct.
And I would imagine at some point, you knew what the numbers were, correct? You knew that there were 6 people in the original group, correct?
Yes,
And that you and Madison went over there originally, correct?
yes,
So that makes 8, agreed?
agreed.
And then Rhyley Mattison joined, that makes 9. Yes?
Yes,
And then Gabby and Janelle were standing around there, correct?
yes,
Makes 10 and 11, agreed?
yes,
And then Anthony, your brother Anthony Carlson joined in, correct?
yes,
That makes 12.
yes,
And then AJ Martin joined in, that makes 13, correct?
yes,
13 against 1, correct?
yes.
Imagine you were feeling pretty confident then, correct?
No,
Didn't feel confident.
no,
Were you afraid?
in a way, yes.
And we're to believe that in that situation,
Objection, argumentative.
that's fair. I'll withdraw.
Thank you.
You said, while this was going on, your brother was telling you to stop, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Did he tell you to stop before you hit him the second time?
No,
Did he tell you to stop before you hit him the third time?
I don't think so.
I didn't catch that.
I said I don't think so.
Okay. So your brother was telling you to stop though, correct?
I think he was just talking to everyone in general.
Okay, but at that point, when you heard him say stop, you had hit Mr. Miu 2 or 3 times, correct?
Correct.
And you'd said your brother Tony came up and started to push you away, correct?
Yes,
So at the time that he's pushing you away, he's also yelling stop.
yes,
Fair to say he's telling you to stop and he's pushing you away because you're giving a beat down to an old man?
I couldn't say what he was doing
Okay.
or what he was thinking.
All you know is you heard stop and you heard him try to push you away, correct?
Yes.
Had your brother not told you to stop and pushed you away, would you have kept beating on him?
No.
You were just, all your anger had gone out?
Yes.
Took 3 hits to get all your anger out?
I guess, yeah.
Okay. Okay, approach.
Yes.
Showing you what's been marked as exhibit number 103. This is a drawing somewhat similar to that. Does it at least over here make sense to you? You see the G1 and the
Yep.
G2 and the different groups?
Yeah.
Do you see the red dots?
Yes.
Do you see the initials inside the red dots?
Yes.
Do you see the one blue dot?
Yes.
And then over on the left, you see a frame number and a time, correct?
Yes.
Would you agree at about 1:39 in the video and frame 2:38.7 that that's a rough approximation of where the 13 people and Mr. Miu are on the river?
I guess it would be a good estimation.
You agree?
Yeah.
Showing you what's been marked as exhibit number 104, do you see the same kind of configuration? People are a little bit different, but the same general idea?
Yes.
And you see in the upper left-hand corner, it's frame 2592 at time 1:49.
Yes.
And same 13 red dots and 1 blue dot, agreed?
Yes.
And agree, again, that this accurately represents the approximate position of the 13 people and Mr. Miu on the river.
Approximately, yeah.
Move for the admission of exhibit 103 and 104.
Any objection? I assume this is for illustrative purposes only.
No objection, Judge.
All right, they're both received then?
Permission to publish.
Yes.
Judge, I just, for accuracy, one of the red dots depicting the group of the 6 teenagers has the initials LM. I was correctly told that the initial should be W. I apologize. I just want to make sure that the record reflects that.
Let's turn on the document examiner.
What exhibit number is that?
This is exhibit 103, frame 2387 at 139. And then showing exhibit 104, which is frame 2592 at 149. Can I also just publish in the old-fashioned way so we
Yes.
can move on?
Yeah.
Can I
Just, yeah, hand it to one of the jurors and they can pass it along.
Those are the only questions I have. Thank you.
Mr. Anderson?
Thank you. I'm going to start out kind of on this subject here. So I'm looking at 104, and I'm just going to try to create part. more or less kind of what's on 104. All right. Can we get the monitor? I'm on frame 2592. Yes.
Are you on that? Sorry.
No, you got it right.
Okay, so
So here, I don't know if the jury can see this board. Can you all see that? So at 2592, Rhyley and Mattison are standing in front of Nicolae, right? Kind of like the drawing.
Yes.
I'm going to go forward. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. You got to go back a little further. Can we have the screen? On 2546, I think on cross, you talked about Rhyley having her hands up like that.
Yes.
Do you know if this is what you're talking about, if it was something else? If
I think it was when I had punched him.
Okay. I'm going to scroll forward. So that's you, kind of like the drawing.
Yep.
And Rhyley and Mattison are shoulder to shoulder, like the drawing defense showed. Okay, I'm going to keep going forward. Now, in this frame, 2659, it's more like that. Agreed, where you're shoulder to shoulder with Rhyley facing Nicolae and Mattison's behind.
Yeah, but I think those are opposite, the stance on that.
What's that?
So I think it's just like Rhyley and me were like crisscross.
You're on the right of Rhyley in that still frame, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And in my drawing, DC is on the right, Rhyley, RM is on the left. Right?
Well, if you're sitting this way, it's up.
Oh, you're kind of looking at it backwards
Oh.
over your shoulder?
Yeah.
You want me to turn it a little bit?
Oh, I see what you meant now.
Kind of matches the,
Yeah.
okay.
I thought that was MU at the bottom.
Oh, gotcha. So, and you were asked on cross if when Miu punched Mattison, you told law enforcement, you said it was Rhyley then, that she fell back, fell down. You remember
Yeah.
that? If she got hit, she testified she got knocked back like that. And if you're,
Objection.
Sustained.
if you just saw the beginning of her going back, and then you respond, would you have seen what happened behind your back?
No.
Defense asked you on cross, essentially a line of questioning about help's not audible in the video. Do you recall that? You can't hear somebody saying help in the video.
Yes.
Defense gave you, there must be two options, and the defense asked you about one option being they said help before the videos started. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And then they asked you, and then you said another possibility is it was in the seconds between the two videos. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Is another option that you just can't hear it in the video over other yelling?
Maybe.
Do you know which one it is?
I do not.
You just know you heard them yelling for help?
Yes.
And did you tell the officer multiple times that you didn't see, that you were looking away and didn't see exactly what happened until you turned back and that's when you saw the strike?
Yes.
And then defense asked you about alcohol. So you would have been on your fifth drink, as far as you remember, how many drinks you had on the river?
Yes.
Do you know if a drink is 0.02 per drink, 0.03? Do you have any idea?
No.
Okay. So you testified on cross, you were responding to, when you hit Nicolae, you're responding to him hitting Mattison. Remember that?
Yes.
And up until you saw him hit Mattison, did you see any punching or pushing?
Not really pushing, but like,
Touching?
yeah.
And in response to the punch, you punched. Is that right?
Yes.
And then two open hand slaps, strikes.
Yes.
Did you pull out a weapon?
No.
Knife, gun?
No.
Put him in a chokehold?
No.
When he was down on the ground, did you kick him?
No.
Did people pile on top of him?
No.
So defense asked you about 13 on 1. As far as you remember, and from everything you've seen in the video, was it 13 on 1 or you hitting him and AJ doing a push? So 2.
I would say that's fair. I didn't really see anyone hit him or try to go after him.
Nothing else.
Mr. Nelson?
You agree that there were 13 people standing there in the position that we showed on Exhibits 103 and 104, correct?
Yes.
You were one of those people, correct?
Yes.
You were ready, willing, and able to use violence, correct?
Yes.
And you did, correct?
Yes.
AJ did too, correct?
I wouldn't categorize a push as violence, but
If you're pushing somebody down while their friend smacks them across the front of the face, would you think that's violent?
yes.
Fair to say that Madison Cohn was standing there in a position that may have been ready, willing, and able to be violent?
I don't think so.
She'd already pushed him and pulled him and screamed in his face, correct?
Yes.
She wasn't really gracious with him, was she? You wouldn't characterize that, would you? She's screaming in his face, correct?
She's screaming at him, yes.
And same with Rhyley Mattison, same thing, correct? Ready, willing, and able.
Objection on speculation of
Sustained.
minds.
Sustained.
Did she appear to you to be in a position that she was ready, willing, based upon her gestures, and capable?
Same objection.
To cause
Wait, wait,
violence?
no, sorry, there's an objection.
Sorry.
Sustained.
I believe you said, and I want to give you a chance because I couldn't understand it on redirect. Did I understand it correctly? You said you were not in a position to say whether she fell or didn't fall. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Originally, you told the police she fell, correct?
Yes.
Why did you tell the police something that you knew was wrong?
Because at the time I had remembered it differently.
Okay, so at that time when you said that, you had a memory in your mind that she'd fallen, correct?
Yes.
And since that time, your memory has changed, correct?
Yes.
And that's changed based upon conversations that you've had with friends?
No.
Based upon your watching the video?
No.
Just on your own, your mind said it wasn't the way I originally saw it, correct?
Yes.
And it's just coincidental that your change is helpful to the state's case?
No.
You had said that when you were asking about this help, right? Do you remember they were asking about, you heard help, but it wasn't on the recording?
Yes.
Just want to touch this briefly, right? On the exhibit, can I? Publish 103. Yes. And so I'm just going to put a sticker here because I want to ask you about a different time, but I just want to use the G2 and the G1. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So there was a time when you were over in that position where the circle is G2, correct?
Yes.
And then that's when you said you heard the teenagers yelling for help, correct?
Yes.
It was when you were over there by that position, correct?
Yes.
At that point, the phone would have been with Jawan Cockfield over here by G2, correct?
Yes.
So you would agree, let me ask this, all of the people in Jawan Cockfield's group were closer to the phone than you were, correct?
Yes.
So if any of those people, including Jawan Cockfield, had have yelled, help, that voice would have been closer to the phone to pick it up than it would have been to your human ear, which was farther away, correct?
Yes.
Could be that you're just wrong.
No.
You for sure heard it,
Yes.
even though it's not on the recording, which was right by the boys.
Yes.
And you're as confident as that as you are in all of your other testimony.
Yes.
Even if we didn't see it on video, you're still confident that it was a punch.
Yes.
Nothing else.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Carlson. You may step down. Is he released?
No.
All right. Please see the witness coordinator in the back. She'll give you instructions. Who is the next witness?
I will call Landon Wire. Landon? W?